Hello everyone, welcome back to the layout. Here with a little bit of a what's on the workbench type video. I haven't done those in a while. I recently re-picked up the Proto 2000 SD9 project, which I started about 7 years ago according to my YouTube channel. So getting right into it, most of the work I've done recently is actually on the frame for two of the engines. Here's an example of how the weight comes stock from the factory, minus the styrene, of course. You'll notice that I did cut off these little extra, like I'll say supports or whatever. Since I do want a full cab interior, these were just making it really hard and they're in the way. So since they weren't really needed for any, structural integrity or anything of the actual locomotive, cut those off, sanded that flush, and then I also did the same thing with these little three nubs up here that would hold some wires, cut those off, sanded that flush, and then same thing for the standoffs in the back. Looking at the front, you'll notice that I did right here, put in a notch and then drill a hole. That should hopefully line up with the hole here at the bottom for the walkway light. So we're going to try and have walkway lights, illuminated walkway lights on this model. Going back to the full cab, previous iterations were really me trying to fill this all in with styrene and accommodate the drive shaft and the weight. So like I said, we cut off the unneeded pieces of the weight. And in the SD7 project that I did, I think last year or 2 years ago, I noticed that a Canon & Company cab interior actually fits pretty well with minimal modifications. So we notched out some bits for the shell to fit in place, and then it actually sits high enough to be flush with the doors that it does clear the drive mechanism. And then the other work, and this was a lot of, I'll say, trial and error and lots of filing, is I did really want, of course, to use, KD couplers. I wanted those to be the proper height, but I also didn't want to have to, really glue much. And I wanted the ability to effectively screw the shell onto the frame. If any of those who are aware of the old Proto 2000s, they essentially had clips. And then there was a clip on this piece here, where the coupler sat. So as you can probably tell, we greatly cut and filed down what was on the frame. I wanted to keep it, so we drilled a hole through that, and then, let me see if I can find, it's on the sill here, sorry about that. So we put in some styrene, drilled and tapped a hole. So what I can now do is actually, when I put the sill on, then I can put the coupler in, and then a screw will hold the coupler in place and the sill down to the frame. And of course, the rest of the body will, of course, be glued on to the walkway sill. So I'm really pleased with that. A couple other items, of course, I'll put in the class lights, lit number boards. I actually re-added, this is some parts for a GP9. These are actually, originally there's going to be SP units, but now that manufacturers are actually making ready to run SP SD9s, I decided I would pivot to my own kind of freelance railroad, which I'm calling the California Northwestern Pacific. Here we see me just trying to size up and test some decals. The backstory behind it was essentially Southern Pacific had a public relations problem in the 1970s, if you will. So what they did to help the struggling NWP, which of course goes along this route here, is they actually sold off a bunch of trackage, which is today the California Northern Railroad. So essentially, it's kind of like this little conceptual map here on the left. So they have the actual NWP right of way here. In my fictitious 1975-ish time frame, the Eureka Southern actually came on the scene much earlier. Of course, they all interchange at Willits with the California Western Railroad. They come down here to interchange with the Napa Valley Railroad. They have SP trackage rights. Southern Pacific essentially sold the entire right-of-way here that goes along 5. And then starting at Red Bluff up to Wairika, they have trackage rights on the Southern Pacific, so they can interchange and be partners with like the McCloud River Railroad, the Wairika Western Railroad, and the Central Oregon Pacific Railroad. Come down here in Sacramento, they have trackage rights to interchange with the California Central Traction Railroad, and then the Sacramento Northern and Western Pacific, and then obviously Southern Pacific for points due east. So that's a little bit on the little concept I'm developing. I'll put a whole video together on the freelance part of the railroad. Just kind of testing out stuff, and when it's finalized, I'll let you know. But there you are. That's an update. These engines should be pretty much ready for paint very soon. Still need to finish some of the custom handrails on this unit, but other than that, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you later.